This musician was the first Indigenous woman to win a Canadian Country Music Award for Female Artist of the Year back in 2009, and the first to win a JUNO Award for Blues Album of the Year in 2020. She became the first full-blood Indigenous woman to appear in the top 20 on the American Billboard Country Chart, and the first to sell over 300,000 records, and the first to sing at the Grand Ole Opry. Her album Midnight Blues debuted at number 8 on the American Billboard Blues Chart in 2022, making her the first Indigenous woman to appear in the top 10. And her debut single, You Can Let Go, in 2008, reached the top 10 in only 5 weeks, which made it the fastest climbing single on the Canadian country singles charts since Carolyn Dawn Johnson's Georgia back in 2000. I'm joined by Crystal Shawanda. Crystal, did I miss anything there?
I think you got it all.
Right on. Perfect. Well, certainly you've had an incredibly accomplished career to this point, but you're definitely not slowing down, and you've just released a brand new single called Would You Know Love, released on January 10th via New Sun Records. So, Crystal, tell me a little bit about this brand new track.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so excited to finally get new music out there again. And this song was actually written by a songwriter named Sonny Tackett, and we were sitting around at his house in a holler over there just in East Tennessee, and he started playing this song, and I just fell in love with it. And it just, it sounds like it's from somewhere in between old and new and country and blues, kind of like me. And I just really connected with it. And, when I sing it, I think about all the people who wouldn't be in my life if I had let love slip on by, because that's what the song is about. It's almost like giving a warning, like if you keep letting love slip on by, you might just end up alone. And, I think it happens a lot these days because people get so burned so many times, they just kind of give up on it, right? So it's really exciting to get this song out, and it's getting pretty well reception. So I'm very happy about it.
And speaking of love, you've collaborated with your husband on this track.
Yes, actually, my husband is my guitar player, and he's produced the last few albums, and we've been working together for 22 years now. We've been married for 21 years. And so, yeah, it's been a long-standing relationship. And, I love working with him in the studio. He challenges me. Sometimes we butt heads, and, but I think that's how we get the magic out of the track and out of the song. Is, it's like he said, sometimes he has to get me mad to get the best vocal out of me.
My partner Dana, we work together as well, and it's definitely it takes a lot to be able to be in a relationship and to also work together at the same time, right? That's you said magic, and I think that there's definitely some magic that to make that happen.
For sure, and there's push and pull. There has to be. It can't just be happy sunshine rainbows all the time. It's like it's that push and pull. Sometimes that's where you get the best creative ideas from, is when you push it back and forth between each other. And at the end of the day, for us, the most important thing is the music. So we always do what's best for the music. Absolutely.
And speaking of getting that inspiration for the music, looking into your background, I know you're from Manitoulin Island, from Waquenakong First Nation. And from what I understand, that's what you got your inspiration from for your type of music, for your blend of music with the blues and with country. And from what I understand, you get some of that inspiration, the blues from your brother and the country from your parents. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. My parents, they loved to listen to old country music. They loved music like Johnny Cash and, Patsy Cline, Loretta Lynn, and, that kind of thing, and that kind of music. And then my oldest brother, he loved listening to Muddy Waters and Etta James and B.B. King. And then I had another brother who listened to a lot of Dwight Yoakam and Steve Earle. So you kind of spin that all together and you got me. And, growing up on the reserve, there wasn't a lot of places to sing. So my parents just kind of got creative. My mom would take me to local churches to sing, and then my dad would take me to local bars and grills and, whatever house party, and he could sneak me into to jam out. So, I've had training from both sides of the track, so to speak, and it's definitely, I'm a product of all of those things.
That's amazing. And we've been really fortunate to spend a lot of time on Manitoulin over the years at the family cottage, but we're always there in the summer when it's absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. But I can imagine that being up there in the winter, kind of that cold, that isolation. I've never been there at that time, but I'm sure that kind of drew into some of those the blues, right? And that inspiration from you.
Yeah, absolutely. The isolation is the perfect word. It's long winters and there's not a lot to do, so those were usually the months when I would do most of my songwriting, because that's when I would be sitting still the most. And some a lot of the songs I would end up writing would end up being very sad, because, like I've always said, songwriting for me has always been like cheap therapy. So, all the sadness that would build up inside of me, that's how I would get it out, was writing these songs. And, I wouldn't just write them about myself, but about my loved ones and stuff that I was watching them go through. Songwriting kind of helped me, cope and understand the people I love, what they were going through.
And getting to now, I guess, with your, I take your base in Nashville, and you have your own record label, right? Like this new track that you just put out, this is on your own record label, right?
Yes, absolutely. I actually, when I left country music, I was trying to figure out my next move. This was, when I left RCA Records, that's who I signed my first record deal with in Nashville. And then when we parted ways, we had kind of creative differences. I wanted to figure out what my next move was, but I needed to remember who I was again. So I started my own record label in 2010. I called it New Sun Music. And it just gave me a chance to explore and try out different things. And through that, I was able to discover that, hey, I think I'm a blues artist. And, I ended up signing a record deal with True North Records several years later, but I kept my record label going because I love to mentor and help other artists, and we're an artist-friendly label. So what I like to say is I try to help other artists learn so they don't make all the same mistakes that I did.
Right, giving back, right? Taking your experience and spreading that knowledge. That's fantastic. Is that something that your husband helps you with as well? Is that a family affair to keep that label going, or what goes into to keeping a record label active?
Yeah, definitely. My husband is a big part of it. He's the president of the label. My husband, he worked, we're in Nashville, Tennessee. Before I met him, he worked with a lot of amazing, industry professionals who he learned so much from. And so we kind of put together everything we've learned over the years, and that's what we do, and we teach the artists we work with all about the business. And then we have a wonderful team, and then we also contract different workers at different times when we need them. And so, it's really exciting, and we work with all styles of music and people from all backgrounds of life.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's awesome. I love when artists can, share that experience, share that knowledge, and help. Right? That's great. But I wanted to, go back a little bit. Obviously, we started our chat with, listing all your, and probably not all your accomplishments, but a bunch of your accomplishments, and really, mention your heritage on the reserve on Manitoulin, and when I was listening to your accomplishments, it's you're the first Indigenous woman for multiple awards and really a lot of different chart-topping, prowess in the different parts of music. Talk about that a little bit, if you can, Crystal. What that means to you to really be an ambassador for your culture through your music.
It's definitely not a coincidence. All these firsts, it was. It has always been a mission of mine since I was a little girl, because, representation truly matters. When I was a little kid growing up, I didn't see anybody that looked like me on the TV or, who were singing the songs that came out of the radio that I love so much. And I noticed it, and it absolutely affected my self-esteem and my confidence. And it's something I would talk about with my mom all the time. I have incredible parents who always encouraged me, to represent my people in a good way. And they always let me know, because it hasn't been done before, you will be one of the first. So that takes on a big responsibility, and you have to carry that in a good way, because you can inspire so many more other people. And that's what's so great about all these firsts, is that it's not going to be the last. It's about opening doors for future generations to show that it can be done. You just got to work really hard, and the main thing is you just can't give up.
Absolutely, and I'm glad that you're talking about it too. That's one thing I've learned through some of my other work, the day job, I guess, so to speak. But it's to talk about it, it's to be open about it, about the culture and about exactly what you said about the first. But having good discussions and getting it out in the open so that it's not the last, right? Like it carries on, and like you said, can inspire future generations, right? And
it's also kind of a reminder that it's crazy that we're in this day and time, and we just finally had all these firsts for us as Indigenous people, right? So it's kind of a reminder of hey, let's all work really hard to become a main part of the fabric of the music community, of any community, whatever it is you're into, whether it's music or movies or education or business, whatever it is. It's like, let's get out there and be a part of this world because we have every right to it and we can absolutely do it. Again, you just got to work hard and believe in yourself.
Absolutely. Well, that's a fantastic message, Crystal, and I'm glad that you're, as a fellow Canadian, I'm glad you're grabbing onto that and like I said, really being an ambassador for getting that out there. I wanted to ask you too. I know you got the new single out, but what's next for you, Crystal? Is there any live dates in the works? And the single "Would You Know Love," is this kind of the first taste of a bigger project, or what's next for you?
Yes, absolutely. This is the first single off of my new album, which is going to be coming out on April 11th. It's called Sing Pretty Blues. And we're really excited about it. We're definitely going to be hitting the road. I've taken a little time off the road in the fall. I took some time off. And this first part of the year, I took some time off because my daughter, we have a 7-year-old daughter, and she's in dance class. So we're trying to we're making that our priority because she has her own interests and her own things that she's into. And but we're getting ready, though. We're all ready to hit the road. We're going to be releasing some show announcements soon. We have some amazing shows happening in Canada and America. I'm going to be playing some major music festivals that we have booked, but we can't quite announce yet because they haven't announced their lineups yet. And I've got some album release shows that will be happening and that we'll be announcing. I know we're going to be having a big one that's going to be happening in Toronto. So everybody can follow my social media to see when exactly these dates will be happening. But it's really exciting because we'll be getting on the road. Like I said, my husband plays guitar and our 7-year-old daughter is part of the show. This last year was her first time that she joined us on stage for every single show. She sings backgrounds and plays percussion, plays tambourine and bongos and dances around and just brings a lot of wonderfulness. And it's pretty cool because she gets all the little kids involved. She usually ends up with her own little fan group on the side of the stage of little kids who only want to meet her and have no interest in me, which is pretty cool.
That's amazing. We can't wait to check that out. We'll definitely stay tuned to your social media to find out those announcements. Anyone else, you can stay up with everything with Crystal, with her music, with her career at crystalshawanda.co. Crystal, thank you very much for taking the time with us today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you squeezing me in today.